practices. So with that, today's agenda will really be talking about our guest speakers, going through obviously the needs and priorities of most non-for-profits. The world is constantly changing around us, so what that means, the approaches and best practices around strategic planning. We've held multiple seminars, so building off some of those areas that we've seen before, hearing a lot from Shakti from Canada Helps, and then potential areas that Process Fusion is going to be giving back and seeing if we could help non-for-profits through our own grant program. So if you're not familiar with us, my name is Miran Ravindran. I'm the senior consultant from Process Fusion and leading the way in the non-for-profit division. We also have Roger Mack. I'll let him introduce as well.
Oh, hello, everyone. I'm Roger Mack, and I'm one of the VP at Process Fusion, looking after the software development of products or solutions for the public sector and nonprofit organizations. Miran and I have been working for the past 10 years, building solutions and managing solutions for our public sector customers. And we'd love to get feedback from you later today. Thank you.
So overall, just a high level about our organization, where we talk about digital transformation, it's a very broad world. Our core area is focusing on people, process, data, and technology related to primarily the service delivery, financial management, and funding administration, helping nonprofits, right? So the key for us is really not about what technology you're using, but how to first help staff reduce administrative burden to develop better quality service. How do you support more clients? Streamlining different processes from intake, client service management. How do you leverage data to make better evidence-based decisions? And everyone's working with a different mixed bag of tools. So how do you better utilize what your existing tools and systems and services are so that you could better support your clients? And next we have the man of the hour, which is Shakti. I'm not going to steal any of his thunder, but I think almost everyone knows who Canada Helps is. Their organization is synonymous for all fundraising and donation management across Canada. So with that, Shakti, please. Love to hear your intro.
Thank you. I hope you could hear me okay. If you could give me a thumbs up. Okay, great.
Yeah,
good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to connect with all of you. Roger and Maren and I have been speaking about about our charitable sector. Myself, my name is Shakti Sinha. I'm a Chief Technology Officer here at Canada Helps. I have been serving Canada Help for the last over 4 years. Those of you who are not aware about Canada Helps, so Canada Helps is established, is an established organization. We came with a concept, we came with an idea, and then we founded this company. The company is roughly about 25-year-old company, and it's a fundraising platform which enabled 84,000 plus charities along with 30,000 plus donor, enable them to make a one-time donation, monthly donation, allowing them to Apple Pay, Google Pay, while making sure our infrastructure is up and running, especially during those times when we have an event like Giving Tuesday or when we have an event like end of year. We provide instant tax receipt. Along with that, we enable if a donor wants to make a donation on the security. I'll take a pause here. And I have provided my detail here and the LinkedIn detail, which I'll be sharing later as well to connect.
Perfect. So just to give everyone concept, obviously Shakti is focused on the donation fundraising side within the non-for-profit and charitable services area. We will be talking about from a large and small organizational perspective and different funding streams. We understand that many organizations on this call are fully funded or they have multiple streams or some are fully donation managed. So we're going to try to cover a broad range of topics and make sure this is relatable to most organizations that we talk to. Obviously in scale, it could be very different. So I think the big thing is the elephant in the room is the challenges that the sector is facing, right? There's an unprecedented amount of issues that we're all dealing with right now, from the tariffs, federal elections, provincial elections in Ontario, what these tariffs are going to mean, like right now, the BOC is forecasting that on average, every Canadian is going to be potentially increasing their costs by about 1,900, and in the States, it's about 2,300. So these are major implications across our sector. And based on this, I think the elephant is, how are we all addressing this? Or like, how is this, Shakti, and from your world, you have thousands of charitable organizations that rely on you for donation. Where do you see donations? How do you see this impacting the sector right now?
Sure, sure. And if you would allow me to share my screen, I have
Yeah.
prepared a few slides so that we can deep dive.
Certainly, yeah. You can hit the share button in
Sure.
Zoom and it'll bring up the screen. Yeah.
Let me know if you are able to see my slide
Yeah,
here.
it's here.
Okay, great. All right. So that's our first slide, where basically our discussion would be revolving around how we can drive the greater social impact. Okay. Great cause. Everybody, nonprofit, for-profit organization, they want to get involved. But the key part that my mind is that always is, what is the SWOT? Okay, specifically looking at our charitable sector. Okay, we work with the small size charity, we work with the large size charity, we work with as I mentioned about the many sizes of donors. I'll get through the numbers, but the most important part, I want to talk about the SWOT analysis. So what are the key strengths which is applicable to all sizes of charity, who are one way or another way trying to support Canada? Okay? Strength, like passionate team. I have met thousands of charity, thousands of donor. I get different kind of queries, question through our platform, and the passion and the ideas and the way that they want to support our Canadian economy or the Canadian donor, that's really high. We have got the trusted brand. Canada Health is a trusted brand. As I mentioned earlier, that we are roughly about 25-year-old company. We are not only enabling the donor and charity, but we're also providing the product to the bigger charities, okay, like Calgary Food Bank, and the list is very long, so I will not take the names. Financial reserve and the donation performance. So I do understand that we need to consistently innovate. We need to consistently move towards so that we can not only enable the donor and charity to be part of this noble cause, but we also make sure that the lights remain on in every organization. Because if there are small size organizations whose key task is to, do the fundraising, perform the event, do the P2P enablement, but for all these things require fund, right? So we need to keep an eye on that as well. Improve the employee value proposition and the PNC, people and culture processes, whether the people who are involved driving these innovation, okay, are they adding value here, or what kind of engagement, involvement they have. Ruthless prioritization. That's one of the things which is there's with a lot of things going on. Especially about the AI and the big data. And a few years ago, I was in US for the cloud migration. A lot of organizations, they are moving to bigger cloud partner, AWS, Azure. What is it that serves our need? Not everything is a for-profit organization, because every organization has got a certain set of challenges, certain set of business value proposition. Not necessarily we have to follow what the organizations are doing. It depends on what is our need and what are our wants. I'll quickly jump to weaknesses here as well. The cross-team communication. So even if we are about 100 plus, roughly about 100 employee organization, it's very, very important to have a cross-team communication. It's very important to have a good understanding how our donors and charities experiencing while hosting our custom donation form. What level of experiences our donors are seeing when they try to make a donation using our giving basket, or if they are making the donation through the Visa, MasterCard. Toxic element of culture. It is like people are involved, like, there will be some uh, back and forth discussion happen. How does it become it? Like at the end of the day, all of us have to look at the bigger picture, So these are things which I always consider as a weakness, regardless of, the bigger organization or smaller organization. There's something we always have to keep an eye. Quality issues. Yes, we want to, our vision and mission is to enable and democratize our charitable sector. We need to focus on the quality. Okay, I'll talking about the threat as well. That is related business model. So we need to constantly innovate and try to be, as per how the organization and the environment as well as the entire sector is moving. So we do not need to rely on, one particular area. Fundraising for ourselves, which means you would be seeing there's a lot of fundraising event happen. Take an example of the Sick Kid Foundation. So they have their hospital foundation and then they run with their fundraising program. It's all about the awareness. It's all about getting more involvement for Canadian charities, Canadian donors, so that they can move forward and allow platform like us, platform like other organizations to enable the customer. Lack of process understanding and documentation. It's like, not to reinvent the wheel, right? If we get a call from a donor, well, I made a donation, I could not find the receipt. Or if all of you are aware, there's a term called aggregate tax receipt, where if you made a donation for the entire year, by end of year, every donor, they would like to have an aggregate tax receipt for the tax purposes. It has to be properly communicated. It has to be properly documented so that we are not reinventing the wheel while answering those questions. Opportunities. So upskill every department, upskill management team here, how we can more think about the strategic side as well as on the execution side as well, because that's a one key factor which I noticed is it's the size of each organization, whether it's the bigger organization in the charitable sector or the smaller organization. There is a constant need for the upskilling management team, which require a good understanding of the domain, which require good understanding of the need and the requirement for donor and charity. Revenue opportunities for QDs, which is qualified donees here. If people who are not aware, the qualified donees are something which make a grant the firm. Improvement on culture pillar. Again, that is going back to people who are working together. They feel they are supporting a particular cause, as well as they are helping, as well as they are empowering the donors and charity. Threats. Competition. So it's a low cost, no cost competitor. As you see that over the last 4 to 5 years, there has been, great organization. They are coming up with an idea, and but we need to make sure what is our key motto here. Okay, we have to make sure that every dollar that was donated to a particular charity, without any issue, it is being coming to Canada Helps and then dispersing it to the respective charities. All of you, the second point is political economic environment. So as all of you have been seeing in the last, I would say 2.5 years, whether it's a geopolitical instability across the globe or our neighbor US, where there's a lot of tariff discussion going on. We are not pretty sure how things will move up, but I'll consider it as a threat or the area of opportunity. Cybersecurity. Again, just like, because it's an online fundraising platform, so we have to make sure that the entire data, which is whether it's at transit or whether it is in our system, it has to be cyber secure. I'm sure all of you are aware, a couple of years ago, Quebec passed a law where we have to retain only the last 7 years of data. And if we have to store the data beyond that, we need to have a consent from the donor. So that's one of the causes that we are constantly obfuscating the data. But at the same time, if you look at the customer for the charitable sector, there are some good actor and there are some bad actor. That happens like in every sector. And the bad actor would try to either put your system down or try to get into the system and see how things are going. So that's coming into the cybersecurity. Is our system up to date so that it not only scale, function properly, but the most importantly, secure our data. second part is the public perception of the charities, right? So over the, I'm sure you guys have seen our giving report that we publish every year, Canada Health's giving report. If you notice that, there is a particular trend, whether it's a one-time donation or monthly donation, or charities who are, using the embedded form, we are seeing a particular perception around the charities as well as the declining in the donation. That is pretty much, that's have been happening, and that will continue. So that's the four key area where I often, put my head and think around it, how we can convert our opportunities into our strength or threats into our, strength. So that's a four key area where, we as management team here and I myself get involved. I'll take a pause here before move to the next slide. Happy to take any kind of questions, comment.
No, I think we're good. I think just is obviously this is related to donation management. Same attributes would be applying to funded and fee for service programming, whether it's single source funding. Same challenges we're all facing, from reducing funding, more stricter requirements from funders. And I would say the biggest thing is demand for services and fighting for the same pool of funding, right? So how do you serve 20% greater of clients and a bigger demand when your funding resource allocation is the same or even less, right? These are real world challenges that all of us are facing daily. And how do you execute a plan to do this, right? So
Yeah,
perfect. Thank you,
yeah.
Jackie.
Shaki, I do have a question. It's interesting that you, in one of your weakness point, you identify fundraising for ourselves as one of the weakness. Would you like to elaborate and share with the audience how can they help it addressing that particular weakness? Given you are the fundraising platform, right?
That's true. I mean, business model, like we are online fundraising platform, which allow any particular donor to select the charity which they support or which they are actually connected themselves. So if you go to our website, www.canadahelps.org, and if you type in a charity name, okay, that will give you the charity. And the interesting part on this is we only enable to appear these charity who are CRA compliant, which means charity, they have to be registered with the CRA, they have to be a BN number, and then donor, they can log in or not log in, they can come up there and make a donation. So that's something which is we are enabling, or we are working as a bridge between a donor as well as a charity, a donor who is not aware of any particular charity. That's one. Number two is if they want to support a particular cause, that's what we call the cause fund. Okay, so take an example of Gen Z or Gen Z. We have seen a particular pattern here in the last 3 to 4 years. A donor, they do not want to associate themselves with a particular charity, but they would like to associate themselves with a cause. Okay, like the Global Hunger Fund, or recently the war, or recently a lot of political instability which is going on across the world. So they want to associate themselves. They do not want to donate to a particular charity. So as a solution, what we did was we started creating the Crisis Relief Center or cause fund, so that a donor like myself who personally wants to support a particular cause, I can just go and select the cause and make a donation, and the entire fund would be managed by one platform, and further it is dispersed to the associated charities, which might be 5 in number, 6 in number, who are engaged with that cause. So that's how we are handling it. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have follow-up questions about fundraising since you're here, right? But I'll leave that for a little bit later. As I like to pick your brain for the audience, Scott, for tips and tricks to be more effective in fundraising, given the experience that your organization has. But I'll resolve my question later on. All right.
I'll quickly move to the second.
Move on there.
Again, the major forces which are impacting us. Okay, so I'll go a little bit of deeper here. of you are aware, like, we need to be practical, we need to be realistic, because that's the core of, the charitable sector. We are nonprofit. Okay. So that means our motto and our mission and vision is to, enable the charities and donor. Okay. At the same time, we have to keep the lights on. That we have to be functional. So it's very important for us to understand what are the major forces society-wise. If we're looking at the political polarization, so if you notice in the last 4 to 5 years, it's more towards us versus them. Okay, people are being more individualistic. If I support a particular uh, thought process, and if you do not support it, it becomes kind of individualistic fake news. Okay, you would be seeing a lot of things going around which are not fully validated, fully authorized, or fully laid down. Individualism and apathy, which I mentioned earlier, like it's kind of, if I support a particular thought process, if you're not, then it's becoming, and that has an impact on the way people are making donations. Okay, it's something, like it's all together on Instagram, social media. It's creating a divide. So we need to keep an eye on that. Aging and longevity. So if you look at the demographic factor of, especially around the Canada, you need to be mindful of the donor who has been like the monthly donor for the last many years. You need to keep an eye, like what is the age sector. We often look at the data. It's a boon for us that we are 25-year-old company, so we have that level of data which helps us to perform the machine learning and predicting the model, which enable us to focus on the new product. Okay? And then, and aging and the longevity factor is one of them. Immigration. Canada is a multicultural country. It's an amazing country where people from all across the globe, they move here. So we need to understand what's the pattern there, what kind of, cultural shift we are doing. Instant gratification. People would like to. There is a certain group of data or the donor we see that they really like the instant gratification, whether it's in the form of gift card, gift charity. How we can perform DEI. Okay, diversity inclusion. That's also, it is tied to our immigration. Okay, it is tied to the multicultural society. So these are the things which are the forces impacting not only as a country, but also has an impact on the charitable sector. So we need to keep an eye on that. Well, politics. I'm sure like all of you have been noticing in the last 4 to 5 months, looming recession, tariff war, which is now going on, Canada First, thought process, which is you will be seeing a lot of on the social media, global instability, conservative populism, loss of the middle class. So this is something which is a societal factor as well as the political factor. But from the technology side, where my role come into, play, or I try my best, what are the forces? AI. Okay, all of you are, hearing the post. People are, using a different kind of large language model, whether it's a LLM, whether it's Google is launching with, Gemini, or Copilot Microsoft has launched, or or Facebook has launched Llama. The entire idea behind these is, how we can improve further, how we can improve better. Okay, that's where the AI cyber threat. Okay, that's also another major force which is coming up. Zero UI. So I put it here from zero UI point of view is, I always think around what will be the best donor experience to make a donation. Is it too many clicks on a website, which is making them fatigue? Or how can I make the simplest website, think like the Google in the early days, or even in Google today. So if you go to the home page, it's not too fancy. It's just you have to type in your keyword and it will give you the result. It's actually, the minimalistic UI. It's a good user experience. Same thing we need to think around for our charitable sector here. Okay, not too many button clicks, just one click, and that should, do all the activity which is required. Well, crowdsourcing and the crowdfunding, the only difference between the crowdsourcing and the crowdfunding is the donation which is going in, a donor is not aware of the charity which are really CRA compliant or not. And that's the key area which is differentiating as that if a donor is making a donation, yes, that's the key cause here, to make a donation to support that cause. But at the same time, the donation which is going, is it government approved, right? Is the funding or is the donation which is being made going to the right place? So that's another major force. Well, automation and robotics. Okay, I mean robotics. We have seen in the bigger player like Amazon. We have seen a lot of automation across the technology industry. What are the key area that we can automate? Okay, what are the key area? If there's an event going on, or there's a fundraising event going on, do we have the capability to make a tap to go? Okay, if you have the app on your phone, you just tap it and the donation went seamless. So these are the area which is constantly coming up, and these are the forces which are impacting us. So we need to think, we need to pivot, and constantly evolve and constantly innovate. I
Perfect.
promise I'll take a pause here. If happy to take any question, definitely do not want to, bombard with so much information.
Now, I know our time is limited, Shakti, so let's just make it like a fire hose and give as much information as we can in a limited time. And just in the same methodology for donation management is, how can you streamline the client service journey, right? For your clients, how can you engage with them? One of the biggest areas, Shakti, that you talked about, I'm hoping you can give more insight, is Canada Helps sees probably one of the biggest amounts of data that you receive, right? From a donation and funding perspective. You talked about machine learning and using that, right? Whether it's a small or large organization, Shakti, everyone has their data points. Some are too large, some are very small, right?
Yes.
How can you explain the methodology of how even Canada Helps is using that data to build some of their evidence-based decision making, build their priorities, or even decide where is potential work that we need to do advocacy on, right?
So when we look at the data, there are two levels of data that we are talking about. One is what we call the structured data, and one is what we call the unstructured data. So structured data, formatted, that's kind of if somebody made a donation, came to our system, selected a charity, selected their own method of payment, either credit card, Apple Pay, or Google Pay, it went to our system and then got dispersed. Very clear, happy path can be captured in our system. That's a structured data. And that's what we have been doing. There's another set of data which has popped in the last 4 to 5 years, unstructured data. So unstructured data is where, think like a query came in from a particular donor that, I want to use, or I want to receive my previously generated receipt. I lost it. It's a kind of there's no particular format or there's no particular structure which our system can capture it. It was just a query. Okay. Or the second good example is, Canada Helps. Are you PCI compliant? Are you SOC 2 compliant? Okay. What are your thought process? These are the query, and that's where the data come into the picture. So the first set of data, which is structured data, we are constantly building up a kind of a data lake, okay, which means we have a clear segregation of data based on whether it's a donation basis, whether it's a charity basis. And then on top of that, we cleanse that data, and then it feeds to our different businesses. So we have the B2B businesses, which is focusing on charity, and then we have a D2C, which is focusing on the donor. And they further, we classify it, like, looking at, as I mentioned, about the aging and the longevity, and the second part is the demographic factor, whether it's from, let's example, from the east side of Canada, from the west side of Canada, what's the donation pattern. That's two. And the third part is consistently doing the A/B testing of our application. So A/B testing is a great tool, where whenever we are launching a new product, we enable it for the handful of charities and get their experience. Okay, so we have got the historical data where we are classifying and categorizing it. That helps us to understand what's the pattern. And the second part is, it's very important to get a feel and a sense from the charities how they are going to use it. It's kind of a hearing from the from the customer directly. So that's where the A/B testing comes into the handy, and that actually drives us, what in which level or at which direction we need to pivot. So that's on the structured data side. The unstructured data side, where we see a lot of large language model are getting trained, that goes back to what we did was we created an in-house chat. Okay, so in-house chatbot is something which is, as a staff, if they have any kind of questions, it actually goes to our language model, which was developed by us, and then it constantly check in with the last 10 questions which were being raised, which one is really close to this question. So it in the background is constantly, training and making the system smarter, so that the next time such kind of questions are appearing, they give 2 to 3 options and you can go through that link. That's how, the one is talking about our business pivot, and the second one is talking about the internal optimization and the internal operation. I hope I was able to answer your question, Aaron.
No, I
Yes,
think
it does. But I do. Sorry, I
Right.
do want to extend the questions and on the audience behalf. These unstructured data you talk about, Shaki, are they as easily accessible by your customers when they do the fundraising? The unstructured data, are they accessible to them?
That's down the line is the plan.
Down the line right
Because
now. Okay, so
yes.
I see. I see. Okay. With that said, maybe I'm eager to ask, do you have tips for the audience for doing a more effective fundraising on your platform, given the tools that you have, the data that you provide? You have tips for the audience to become more effective with fundraising?
Tips for the effective fundraising. It goes back to, understand our business model here. So if I talk about the Canada Help, so we have got the 2 key components. One is what we call the CDF, which is a customization donation form, where a donor can either come to website, search for a charity, and the CDF. So where Canada Help CDF are embedded on their website. One. And the second one is the giving basket. Giving basket is you select multiple charities and now you want to make a donation. So it goes back to the prioritization of 1 or 2 key product and try to leverage, try to engagement with the donor, try to have an engagement with the charity, rather than, trying to open up for, the larger horizon. So I would say focus on 1 or 2 product, try to improve it, try to see the pattern, what is kind of the activity rate on the website, what has been the usage in the last, I would say, 3 to 6 months. That will become a good business case for the new product to develop, and that's how we follow as well. Like our fiscal year is July to June, so we start doing our business planning starting from April to March, and that's where we prioritize. Okay, how does this next year look like? Okay, what are the 6 to 7 area we need to touch base on? Okay, and then that required a lot of input from all the departments, whether it's a marketing, sales, or the customer support team. And these inputs are becoming really handy for us to drive the next year, the business model that further translate into what are the key tools that we have to develop, and what are the key area that will be helpful for enabling our fundraising platform.
Okay, very good, very good. All right.
Okay, perfect. So just quickly, team, we have a time check of 10 minutes. Shaki, was there any other slides you'd like to share?
Well, the last slide is I just kept it simple. It's basically covering all the, if you look at the left side, it might be our charitable sector, it might be our economy, right? And on the right hand side is where we want to go. So we have 2 options. Either, we fall from the cliff, or we try to jump to the other side. Or the third option is trying to build up a bridge. Okay, and that bridge will actually help us as a charitable sector to move from the uncertainty to a certain level of certainty. That's where we have to think about whether it's we need to do a lot of automation. Do we need to understand and hear the voice from the donor and charity, and how quickly we become agile? Okay, when I say agile, which means how quickly we can pivot. The good example I can talk about is all of you are aware that this year donation date has been extended till February 28th. So traditionally it used to be like December 31st. Now it has been extended to February 28th, which means we need to incorporate, especially around the aggregated tax receipt cycle, to not only include from last year January to December, but also from January to February this year as well. It's a quick change. It's a global change that we have to accommodate. Is our organization, like if all of our organization as well as the system, scalable and stable enough to pivot that quick? So it's more towards looking at the environment, understanding the forces and how quickly we can pivot and we can remain agile. So that's why I thought to put in here. Things will never be easier, regardless of any sector. What we can do is we can only improve. So there will always be an uncertainty. There will always be challenges. The key area is how we can improve, how we can pivot.
Perfect. So let me see if I could share my screen again. Joy, if you would be able to.
I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, Shakti. Try to move back. Sorry, just in the interest of time. So Roger
okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Roger.
Sorry. We have a question from David. I appreciate your perspective from the technology side. Are you able to speak to what Canada Help is doing from the advocacy side to help the sector? So this question is for Shaki.
Let me read it here. I'm sorry, Roger, if you could repeat the question or maybe type in the chat.
Yeah. It is in the Q&A box. If you could click on the Q&A box, you'll be able to see.
Oh, sure. Yeah, what CH is doing from the advocacy side to help the sector.
Right.
Yeah. So we have been doing a lot. I would say when you are asking about the advocacy side, you mean from the overall charitable sector? I hope that's the question.
To help the sector. Yeah.
Yes. So to help the sector. So we have, if you notice in the last year and a half, we are not only traveling but also enabling and understanding the challenges from the small charities. We have almost every week lunch and learn webinar to understand the challenges, what kind of feature product that they are developing, and then consistently trying our best to remain active on the social media platform, leaving no opportunity to connect with the responsible people at the post in the government side, to make them aware the challenges that as the overall charitable sector is seeing, whether in the form of donation decline or whether in the form of the small charities struggling with the fund. So it's kind of as an overall front, we are not only trying our best to enable donor and charity, but also trying our best to reach out to the people who are very active on the platform, whether it's on the social media or on the on the political front, to make them aware how the charitable sector is growing, decreasing, and the challenges that they are facing.
Perfect. So just, I know we don't have too much time left. What I think some of the key questions about 4 or 5 minutes is we'll cover one more area. I would say Shakti and Roger, we could talk about the methodology, and we've kind of highlighted this in our past webinars. Shakti, just from a synopsis standpoint, like filling the gaps, right? I think there's multiple angles an organization can look at it, from funding receipts, donation management, short-term is financial sustainability. Where do you see as potential priorities that an organization from a short-term perspective should look, I wouldn't say quick wins or best practices in order to enable that? If that makes sense. Like, where do you see as potential avenues, or you talked about automation, right? Where do you see as maybe a priority for some of the charitable organizations you're dealing with? Or Roger, on helping fill those gaps, right? Whether it's from funding, advocacy, or dealing with some of those economic challenges.
It's a big one,
Yeah.
actually. So yeah, um, there are, at least on the way I look at it is it's more towards number one, the operational excellence. It begins with how we can improve the client journey. Okay, where when I say client journey, which means our donor and charity, what seamless experiences that we are providing to the donors and charity while they are using any website, whether it's a CanadaHelps.org or other food banks. That's the key part here. Okay, how we are improving. That's one part. That's internal. The second part here is the level of data and the level of depth that the charities are doing. It's kind of an interaction with the donors, interaction with the charities. Knowing your customer is really important. Okay, what are the pain area that team is doing? It could be as simple as there are some bigger organizations like like Deloitte. Okay, they run their internal programs and they do not have that kind of, I won't use the term capability, but they would like to look for a firm who can disperse all the fund that they receive for their internal program so that all the donation go to the charity which their employee selected for. So look for that opportunity, how we can be a more efficient program and partner with these kind of bigger organizations so that we can take the overhead from these organizations and try to on behalf of them. And part, as I said, like the automation to your best, like doing our best for the internal, operational efficiency. Because end of the day, it's our motto. We are non-profit. Okay, so there's no like investor, there's no series funding that we are looking for, which will enable us to have a competitor like for the for-profit organization. So the more we try to have a clear-cut prioritization, focus on more operational efficiency, that will help us to sustain and grow further.
Thank you, Shakti. I think you highlighted that even with your recent article as well, like talking about the SWOT areas and potentially 25% savings in funding administration cost and improving the client journey. I think it's where you can see reducing administrative and not cutting the cost, but reducing the cost to focus on more critical priorities, right? Or client facing or donation management areas of your organization. Roger, is there any other feedback that you would have prior to wrapping up?
I was planning to provide some of the insights we learned from the organization we spoke to. Maybe you can flip to the top priority slides that you just skip over.
Yeah, we are at the exact time, so we have maybe 5 minutes maximum in
That's
Shakti's
fine. That's
time.
fine.
So please go on.
Yeah, the back few more to the 2025 top priorities.
All right.
Because today's topic is about strategic planning. Yeah, further up.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So today's topic is about strategic planning. So because we have been talking to a lot of agency or organization the past few years, and we have been tracking in the industry what are the top priorities for them for the past few years. So the list I'm showing right now is the top priorities in 2025. Now, in fact, when I compare this to the previous few years, they remain pretty much unchanged. They are very similar. The top ones are always the digital transformation, technology adoption. Then the second one is always about security, data privacy. But this year, it's a bit different. AI becomes like a top priorities. Now, AI, even though it became hot topic a few years ago, right? But they were not the top priorities yet. But this year, it became the top priorities. But I think it's evidence that, as Shakti pointed out, the large language model has become so mature, so accessible now, and we are seeing practical applications of AI. So therefore, we are seeing more organization like they are seriously about adopting it. Even internally within Process Fusions, we're now using AI chat large language model to do the agent, the support agent. On the website, you can ask any questions. It will be able to answer any question about the company, about our support. We've seen our organization trying to adopt the AI to provide answer to some counseling questions. Like they can do the initial intake using AI. So these are the things that organizations are becoming more interesting. Other than that, the rest of the priorities that you can see there, they're pretty much the same as previous years. This year, I think for the interest of today's conversation, right, ethical fundraising, ethical fundraising becomes important as well, because of the multicultural nature of the North American countries, including US and Canada. Organizations need to target a specific ethnical group for fundraising. So this is another priority becoming important this year. I just want to highlight this for today's sessions. Now we will be sending this slide out after the call as well, and we do have, you can see, we do have a few slides talking about some structured approach to strategic planning, and hopefully you can make use of this information as well. I think that's all I have.
Thank you. Sorry to we obviously covered a lot of information and we weren't able to get through everything. So we will send the information. One last final comment is, please, if you could complete the Q&A, I'll reach out individually to get your thoughts on this. And we will be opening up our Tech for Change grant program again over the next quarter. This is really designed as a grant from us to help other agencies move through some of these digital priorities. This is our way of giving back, which is not just words, it's putting effort and resources. So love to hear from the organizations on where these initiatives are. And I just really wanted to thank Shakti for taking the time to tell us where Canada Help stands. And hopefully with some of the members on the call, we can have you included in future panel conversations so we can all learn from each other.